Hello friends, this is Urmi Satyan from Pandit Dayal Petroleum University, and today we are going to talk about the question, what is literature? Now this question is standing in front of all of us, all the literature teachers, all the literature lovers. This question is answered by many stalwarts, literary stalwarts. There are many books that answer this question so very accurately, so very confidently, but still the literature teachers sometimes stumble and sometimes fumble to answer this question, and the reason is that literature is associated with life. As RGD says, literature is life enhancing. As Matthew Arnold says, it is the criticism of life. And as Dr. Johnson, the 18th century common sense, says, it instructs us. So, through the narration and portrayal of life in literature, we learn the difference between good and evil. May it be the stories from the 16th century Othello or Macbeth or King Lear or Hamlet, or come to 18th century and we will be able to meet Oliver Twist or David Copperfield or our dear Emma, or we can go to 20th century where we will be able to meet the American novelist Saul Bellow and his Herzog, or may it be the Russian novelist Dostoevsky or his character Raskolnikov. All these characters, all these stories give new vision to our life, and that is the reason why we many times shuffle the pages of literature for knowledge and wisdom. At the same time, literature also has a utilitarian aspect. It has a kind of practical purpose. There are some students who would acquire a degree in literature and they would also like to be teachers in the field of literature. There are some for whom literature is only a pleasure read, but there are some for whom it becomes a bigger umbrella. They explore literature under the umbrella of children's literature, or it can be popular literature. Interdisciplinary studies have made literature much more wide. People study these days, people do study literature and film, literature and psychoanalysis, literature and psychology, literature and science, literature and society. So this is how the horizons are wide for the literature students. This is basically the power of literature. We cry with our characters, we laugh with them. Their frustration, their anger, their helplessness, their victory, their defeat, everything wins our appreciation and justification. We err and learn, taste and try, lose and win with our fictional heroes and heroines. And thus I can say that literature is the praman of the anubhuti, proof of the experience that we gain from life. The reason is that literature builds connection with our own emotions. Literature is like water. It quenches our thirst for knowledge. It nourishes our soul. It nurtures our well-being. It teaches us how to negotiate with our material aptitude, and thus very graciously and impressively it chaperones our emotions. At the same time, literature is not like a photograph, it is not like a video, it is not a full and final document. It is always reconstructed and it is always evolving. Thus, literature motivates the readers morally, ethically, and also spiritually. From mythologies to pop culture, from fairy tales to science fiction, and from tribal communities to royal families. I mean, no corner is unexplored by the kaleidoscopic eyes of literature, because literature is the sum total of the wisdom acquired from the lived experiences. Today we have entered a new age. The new normal has already set in, and today I am reminded of Virginia Woolf, who said, on or about 1910, I repeat, on or about December 1910, human nature changed. She also says that human nature, human relations change, the religion, the conduct, the politics, and also the culture of the nation changes. How truly this statement is proved today. Today we can see in the time of pandemic, we can see that the good and evil both coexist in human society. Many times, this is the reason why many times we shuffle the pages of literature for knowledge and wisdom. Don't you think Milton's of man's first disobedience reminds us today of our disobedience to the law of nature? Don't we also weep with our dear Copperfield when he says, I mingle my tears with the water in which I wash the blackening bottles? Today, when we are caught in this pandemic, are we not reminded of Alexander Pope, who helplessly asked Dr. Arbuthnot, friend of my life, what drop or nostrum can this plague remove? Like Robert Frost, our doctor warriors today are also surrounded by the yellow woods, and they will also be feeling the dilemma: two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the least traveled by, and that has made all the difference. It is not only about the characters and stories. The credit goes to Thomas Hardy, the 20th century stalwart, who has immortalized the places, the provincial town of southern England. We would like to explore Wessex, his town. We would like to explore the southern England with Hardy. And look at his characters. He's Tess, he's from Dearborn. His mayor is from Casterbridge, and he takes us far away from the madding crowd of the city, and he gives us a call to return to the native. Why to talk about Hardy? We can remember our own R.K. Narayan, who has given birth to Malgudi, and it is a fictional place, as we all know. Literary artists have this power to immortalize even the places. Thus, literature gives us knowledge, wisdom, pleasure, and delight. But there is a big question in front of the literary artists, literary teachers of literature. There are people who believe in the visible evidences of event. There are people who believe in the chemical reactions, experiments, pragmatism, realism, tangibility, and they would be more interested to know the scientific value of literature. Well, my simple question to all of them is, what is the scientific value of life? Where do we position life in the surrounding of science and invention? If at all we want to explore life holistically, we will have to take help of only literature. So every page in literary book is full of emotions, logical reasoning, rationality, and context. And that is why we have seen literature thriving in courtrooms. If you remember, Justice Iyer has habit of many times quoting Shakespeare and many other literary stalwarts. Very recently, Justice Kaju had quoted Mirza Ghalib in the courtroom. There are many psychologists who use literary texts as case studies. There are many journalists who would quote literary quotations at the beginning of their articles, and that is all to substantiate their understanding of the concept. This is how we can say that literature is a wide and deep subject. It explores topics like perception, communication, learning, memory, decision making, persuasion, emotions, and social behavior. This is how, friends, I would like to say that what RJ says is very true. Literature is life enhancing. And when we say that literature is associated with life, I am again reminded of Virginia Woolf, who says that life is not a series of big lamps symmetrically arranged. I repeat again, life is not a series of big lamps symmetrically arranged. Life is a luminous halo, a semi-transparent envelope surrounding us from the beginning of the consciousness to the end. So, if we want to associate life and literature together, similarly, literature also gives us the consciousness to the end. Thus, it is only through literature the puzzle of life can be solved. Life and literature both are the sum total of hamartia and catharsis. Being a student of literature, I consider myself blessed, and as W.H. Auden writes in his poem The Praise of Limestone, the blessed will not care what angle they are regarded from. Read literature, be in contact with literary people. Thank you very much.